Alright guys, it's been a little bit of some time since I last uploaded because I've been a little bit sick and I've also been focusing on some school stuff, specifically with like drama, but this video, the new FNAF game theory called FNAF I Solved Ruin, came out a few days ago. I am late. I do know a little bit about what MatPat says in this video, but I don't know how he connects it to Ruin, so I am interested to watch it. But, this video is, well, it's about, I think, like, Tales from the Pizzaplex and the new Ruin trailer. I think it's based around. The reason I haven't been uploading, like I said, is because I'm sick, but I was late to watch this because it came out a couple days ago when I was busy, and then the next day I had, to stay after school for some important stuff, so now, today, I'm actually able to watch it, so it's time to do that. Also, there's been some stuff happening while I haven't been uploading. There's been, Minecraft 1.20 came out, I think, yesterday, and today, Marvel Spider-Man 2 got a release date of October 20th, which is awesome. But for now, I think we should get watching this video. I'm very intrigued and scared as to what he's going to be saying, so let's get started. Alright, oh yeah, I should probably say before we start, I really like MatPat, and I think that he is, obviously a great person, a cool dude, probably, and, well, I enjoy his videos, I enjoy his theories, but I don't always agree with them, and based on what I've heard about this, I'm probably not going to agree with this one, but even if I do disagree, that doesn't mean that my disagreement doesn't reflect on my opinions on him as a person. He's a good person. So, just wanted to say that. It's not going to change anything. People are going to get mad that I disagree anyway, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright, let's get started. Let's continue. Alright. What is this? Is that the Mimic? Is that meant to... No, that's the staff bot. Maybe it's meant to be the Mimic? I don't know. Game Theory.
Hello, Internet.
Hey, it's Ruin.
Welcome to Game Theory, where today, it's the best of times, and it's the worst of times. I mean, on one hand, FNAF fans be eating good.
They do
this
be
month.
eating
There's
good.
Books, there's a teaser for the movie, there's a trailer for Security Breach's Ruin DLC. Heck, there's even a brand new FNAF VR sequel that literally got announced as I'm recording this episode. It is all super exciting
it's
stuff.
So cool.
I hope you're prepared to
excited.
engorge yourself in lore like Chica consuming a pizza. It is literally the year of FNAF, which is fitting since it's 2023,
the year
of
of FNAF
3. Also, probably FNAF 6.
Yeah.
Honestly, the only thing they're missing from this year is some
Oh yeah, and also, can we talk about how for, like, Lunar New Year, it's actually the year of the rabbit, too? That's actually even cooler.
of haunted attraction.
Horrorplex.
On the other hand, there is chaos in the wider theorist community. Buried in this landslide of new material are a lot, and I mean a lot, of very significant lore drops that feel unusually explicit for this franchise. Hints to the origins of Henry, revelations about secret AI programs controlling the Pizzaplex, confirmation that Gregory was in fact Patient 46. But here's the thing, no one can actually agree on what it's all trying to say. Everyone recognizes that there's been a lot of very important stuff that's being revealed lately, but every online FNAF theorist that I've seen has taken the clues and wound up with a different solution to the puzzle. And normally that's not a big issue. That is the beauty of theorizing, to reach your own conclusions, to make your own predictions, to come up with your own personal headcanons as part of the internet hive mind's attempts to work together and solve a common mystery. There are going to be people that you agree with and people that you don't, and you know what?
Exactly.
Great either way. Except this time, we kinda gotta sorta figure it out. What we're talking about today is some major stuff. Everything that's coming out right now feels like it's trying to guide us into what the plot of Security Breach was meant to be. And now with Ruin coming out in July and building off of that initial game, we've got a ticking clock demanding that we solve things, and quick. Our window is tight. So today, I'm here to catch you up on all the major reveals.
Ruin my health, though, anyway.
Controversies, before throwing my purple hat into the ring on what I suspect it all means. Good news, bad news on today's episode, friends. Good news, I think we've been on the right track the entire time. Bad news, I don't think the wider FNAF community is gonna agree with me. This one is gonna be a battle.
Probably not.
Are you ready, theorists? It's time to eat pizza and theorize, and I'm all out of pizza. Okay, first let me catch you up on the big FNAF drama. Let me set the stage. It's April. All of Team Theorist over here has just finished slaving away on our massive timeline for the series. We've done it. We are on the beach.
And then I start mine.
Hands, eager to take a break from the franchise until Ruin's release later in the year. But nope. Scott not,
Nope.
had himself some other plans. He smacked those beverages clean out of our hands and released 3 new books: Submechanophobia, The Bobby Dot
Submechanophobia was before.
Nexi. Now, normally
But sure.
that wouldn't be too much of a concern, right? Books
And so
tied
was
to
the
this
Bobby Dot's
franchise have been
Conclusion.
coming out for years. It's just part of the content treadmill at this point, and it's not like they tend to add a whole lot. Only one in like every 6
Yeah, they
stories
do.
is even remotely lore relevant, and even then the connection back to the games only exists if you
The Tales
squint
ones
at
are
it. But
important.
oh no,
At
friends,
least.
not this time. Across the 3 books, story after story after story seems to have significant lore implications. And not only that, they're also much more direct in the way that the information is presented, with characters and events mapping largely one for one onto characters and events from the games. If you're not in the habit of reading these things, and let's be honest, why would you when I could just do the homework for you? What I'm talking about might be a bit confusing,
I
so
read
I'm just gonna
them,
explain
so-
by way of example. In GGY, one of the 4 stories that set the internet on fire, a young boy named
It-
Greg
it very
with
much
brown
did.
hair and big brown eyes is a master hacker who's been reprogramming the animatronics at the Pizzaplex for evil deeds, including bumping off 3 school counselors that seem to be getting too close to the truth. He also has himself a habit of being really good at the Pizzaplex's arcade games, leaving behind his initials GGY at the top of the game's leaderboards. Now,
Matt.
compare that information to what we get in the games.
Okay.
There's a young boy named Gregory with brown hair and big brown eyes.
I know
who
what
seems
he's
to be
gonna say
patient
here.
46, a master hacker that's reprogramming the animatronics at the Pizzaplex for evil deeds, including bumping off 3 therapist characters that also seem to be getting too close to the truth. He also has himself the habit of leaving the letters GGY at the top of the leaderboards at various arcade cabinets throughout the Pizzaplex. Now that right there, that is not counting animatronic toes and trying to match up striped shirts. That is about as explicit of a one-to-one parallel that you get for this franchise. So when the story also reveals that Greg's nickname
Yeah.
is Rab, aka Dr. Rabbit, you stand up and take notice. And you know what? The
Yep.
internet sees it. They recognize the connections and how
We do
important
see it,
books
yeah.
have suddenly become. No longer am I out there on my own little island shouting into the void about using the books to inform our speculation about the lore.
I don't think you've
Finally,
ever
the
been
internet
alone on
agrees
that.
with me. To me, this is a huge step in the right direction in terms of figuring out the wider lore
see
of the
Freddy
franchise.
there.
You know, there's just one tiny little problem.
God,
with this.
what?
No one can quite agree just how seriously to take this lore. After years of denying the book's canonicity, there's suddenly been a massive swing of the pendulum the complete other way, where now many pockets of the FNAF community vehemently believe that these most recent stories are fully canon with the games. In other
They
words,
are.
we're no longer talking about an alternate universe where events are similar to the games, but with slight differences. Oh no. Now the debate is all about whether what you read in the books also happened in the Pizzaplex that
They
we played through the
absolutely
game.
are. Okay. Just to give my thoughts on this, I've discussed why Tales from the Pizzaplex is in the games many times before, so I'll just go over it quickly. When they first announced, they were set to be in the world of the newest games. Scholastic has confirmed that that was a description provided for them, and that it wasn't changed due to lore, it was changed because of them. They made that decision to change it. And then there is all the things in the Pizzaplex in some of the stories, like the Bobby Dot's conclusion, what's it called, Somnophobia. There's stuff like that where the Pizzaplex is described just like how it is in the games. And and Bobby Dot's Part 1. I think I said conclusion. It's in kind of both of them. And then there's also the Baobab tree in the Storyteller, which spreads the Mimic, which is the glitch trap virus, because it's what's causing all the changes to the animatronics' personalities and stuff, which we know was the glitch trap virus. And this Baobab tree, which is spreading the glitch trap virus, also appears in Princess Quest on the door where glitch trap is in Princess Quest. So I think it's pretty clear Tales from the Pizzaplex isn't the games. I know that I'm pretty sure he thinks that they're not. So.
So before we dive into that can of worms, let's just talk about the stories themselves. I already filled you in on GGY, which means it's time to talk about the other 3, which tell themselves a connected timeline of events. Starting with the first, the Mimic. This is the one that everyone has been losing their collective minds over. This story tells the tale of Edwin, a genius inventor.
Hey,
and
he
single father,
included
and
his
hyperactive son,
mustache.
David. Basically, Edwin is overworked. Years ago, he sold his struggling robotics company to Fazbear Entertainment, who now has him hard at work turning their, quote, weird costumes into entertaining robots. With the first one that he's working on being a bright yellow chick. There's just one problem here, David. David is 4 in all the best and worst ways possible. It means that he's sweet and excitable, but it also means that he's moody and demands a lot of time and attention. 2 things that Edwin does not have. So to fix his problem and get himself more work time, Edwin creates a piece of software known as Mimic 1. Using some spare robot parts, he makes a legless endoskeleton that's able to copy everything that David does. Basically, this thing's an AI that's using David as his training data. And while Mimic 1 starts starts by merely copying David, pretty soon it's able to respond on its own, independently. And David loves this thing, which means that Edwin is finally able to...
Which is something that a lot of people miss. The fact that the mimic can, like, it has a mind of its own. It doesn't only mimic, it has a mind of its own. It starts responding and doing things by itself, which is something a lot of people forget. And some people are just like, how did the mimic watch somebody go into a VR game and possess people? It didn't. It watched William kill kids, and then it just tried to replicate him by any means necessary. It doesn't have to have watched every single thing that it does, just many of them. Just the main kind of things that it's trying to copy. That's what a lot of people miss. I'm glad he actually pointed that out, because a lot of people miss that.
Peer into his work. Everything seems to be going well until tragedy strikes. An unsupervised David runs out into the middle of a busy highway and is killed. Edwin is devastated.
Dumbass.
And he takes all his rage out on the Mimic, this robot that continues to behave like his son, infusing the metal of the bot with pure agony. We then flash forward in time to Edwin being gone.
I don't think that's really the message,
halls
for
of his
sure.
abandoned home, a brutal killer still in possession of David's childlike tendencies. So, does any of that sound familiar? Cause it should. It's Henry Emily, a genius inventor who helped create the robots of Fazbear Entertainment. A man who also happens to be a single father whose only child dies in a tragic accident when they decide to run outside. A creator whose first project was Chica. Now, that alone would be plenty of connected dots, but the story continues to hammer home the parallels.
No,
between
I
these
don't
two
think
men.
it's ever
In
been
past
said that his
videos, I've
first
talked a lot
project
about
was Chica,
Henry's
just that
signature
Chica
animatronic design,
was
the hinged jaws
possessed
that we see
first.
on the original animatronics, as well as the Rockstar animatronics. Well, guess what? This is how Edwin decided to build the Mimic. Quote, under the eye housing, Edwin had welded in place a hinged jaw. Speaking of Edwin's robots, do you know what Edwin's first business project was? He made robotic vacuum cleaners, presumably like the ones that we see in FNAF 6. Edwin and Henry even share the same sandy brown hair color. But the other big parallel that the story gives us is when Edwin destroys the Mimic. The way this event is described is very similar to when Henry built the final Charlie bot from the Fourth Closet novel.
No, it's not.
Described in Tales of the Pizzaplex. He could almost feel his murderous thoughts pouring through his muscles, transfusing through the metal into Mimic systems. And here's what happens when Henry builds the Charlie bot after her death. Quote from that book. When Henry began to make the fourth, his despair turned to rage. He seethed as he soldered her skeleton together, pouring his anger into the forge where he shaped her very bones. It was not Charlotte drenched in grief. It was made alive with Henry's fury. In both instances...
The issue is that, well, Edwin did that by killing the Mimic, by, like, bashing it. Henry simply just, like, was like, oh, you're not good. Then he, like, just left it behind, didn't do anything with it. That's the difference between that. And I don't really think that the Mimic, well, yeah, it would have had agony in it. I don't think that's, like, that's not why it does what it does. That's not what controls it or anything like that.
Since we have men who have instilled their creations, animatronics that are literal stand.
Oh, and also I should say, yeah, they're similar, obviously, but because Tails is definitely in the games, which I think he's trying to say that it's not, but because Tails is in the games for the reasons that I mentioned, it's very clear that while Edwin and Henry could be kind of parallels, they are two different characters that both exist in the games.
Stand-ins for their dead kids with the pain and rage of loss. If that's not a solid connection, I don't know what is. Even from a timeline perspective, Edwin being Henry makes a lot of sense. In the Mimic, they specifically call out that he's 24 years old. After the death of his son, he disappears. But then, in another tale from the Pizzaplex, this one called The Storyteller, we meet up with Edwin 40 years later, at the point that he decides to return to the Fazbear franchise to sit on their board of directors. Again, the books make a very specific point to call out all these dates. So why? What's the big deal here? Well, if Edwin is truly the parallel for Henry, Henry lost his daughter Charlie in 1983. We're not exactly sure when he leaves the company, but we definitely know when he comes back, 2023, as evidenced by the numerical code in FNAF 6. 40 years later. A perfect match to the time frame that the books have laid.
The problem is that Edwin left in 1984, not in 83. It is 40 years in both cases, yeah, sure. But Henry definitely didn't leave in 1983. He simply, well, his daughter died, but he didn't leave that then. At least not yet.
it out. In short, Edwin has to be Henry, which means,
No.
in a very cool twist, our early franchise timeline was almost perfectly correct. In that video, I said that William Afton's company specialized in hand-sewn mascot suits, and that Henry, when he was brought in, was the one responsible for turning those suits into animatronics. That prediction right there, that was right on the money. I was also on the right track when I said that one of the two founders had their failing company get bought out. I was just wrong about which one. In that timeline video, I suggested that Afton made Fazbear Entertainment, but eventually ran out of money and had to be bailed out by Henry. But as this story shows, it's actually the other way around. Henry was ultimately the one that was bought out. And in one final parallel between the books and the games, the story actually describes the Fazbear exec that gets Edwin to sign away his business as Portly, which connects all the way back to the Silver Eyes, where Afton was described in a similar way. Quote, Afton was as robust and lively as Henry was withdrawn and shadowy. He was a hefty man who had the ruddy geniality of a financially shrewd Santa Claus. Okay, cool, so we've got some confirmation on some early parts of the franchise, but what does any of this mean for Security Breach? Well, that's where the second Edwin story comes in, the Storyteller. In this one, we rejoin Edwin 40 years later. Because of his importance to the early days of
the Storyteller technically came out before the Mimic, though, but yeah, sure.
And he now sits on the board of directors, a fact that does not land too well with the current head of the board, Mr. Burrows. Get it? His name's Burrows because everyone's always connected to rabbits. Anyway, to cut costs at the Pizzaplex, Mr. Burrows decides to lay off the entire creative department, instead replacing them with a generative AI that's capable of creating new storylines for all the characters. Basically, this thing is like ChatGPT on steroids. This, understandably, upsets Edwin, who apparently has gone from creative part of the company. But he's not just a WGA member that's upset about some Writers Guild's rights. What makes matters worse is the fact that Mr. Burrows isn't using just any AI, he's installing Mimic 1, the same program that Edwin created, the one that was trained by his son 40 years prior. When they install it, it even comes in the form of his son's favorite toy, a white tiger head. And here's where things start to get real crazy. This AI controls everything in the Pizzaplex. It runs through a large central tree of wires that are connected through the walls, even tapping into things like the animatronics themselves. In fact, once the Mimic 1 program gets installed, the behavior of all the animatronics starts to change from their normal personalities into something that's a bit more like a 4-year-old. They start to become possessive. They get into tug-of-war matches over toys. They sulk in the corner and cry. David is somehow getting infused into everything that this AI touches. Eventually, Edwin attempts to shut the Mimic 1 program down, but he dies in the process. However, in his final moments, he attempts to communicate with his son inside the AI. You see, in the Mimic story, Edwin watches David communicate.
Yeah, David's like kind of what he's mimicking, at least partially. But I mean, it's not really it's not really David himself. But yeah, I know what he's saying though.
Language described like this. Quote, David and Mimic had been doing all manner of odd little drawings that were surrounded by markings that looked vaguely like hieroglyphics. Edwin then uses this same language to communicate with the Mimic software at the end of the Storyteller. Quote again, every sheet of paper was covered with odd stick drawings and strange symbols that were not at all familiar to Mr. Burrows. Squiggles, squares, loops, triangles within triangles. So why is this story such a big deal right now in the FNAF community? Well, everyone knows it's important, it's just that no one can truly settle on what it's trying to say. Which means it's time for me to do my best.
It's kind of easy to figure out what it's saying.
Now, I've already mentioned parallels between Edwin and Henry, but what that also suggests is that Edwin's son David may just...
Alright, it's kind of simple to figure out what Storyteller and Mimic are trying to say. Basically, the Mimic is spread throughout the Pizzaplex, and it's causing the animatronics, it's changing the animatronics behavior, which is what Glitch Trap does, meaning that the Mimic is Glitch Trap, and that means that since Glitch Trap recreated the missing children incident, that the Mimic, which mimics what it sees, saw the missing children incident, and now it becomes Glitch Trap and recreates it, blah 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 blah, and then the Mimic animatronic, the original one, becomes Burn Trap. He's combined with probably Afton's body, and then maybe Afton's back, maybe he's not. He probably is, in my opinion, but he might not be, depending on your beliefs. But the important thing is that Mimic is Glitch Trap. Mimic saw the missing children incident, and then he and then the Mimic is Glitch Trap. Glitch Trap is not Afton. Burn Trap maybe is, though.
Be an analog for Henry's only child, Charlie. Not that they're one and the same or following the exact chain of events, but rather that where David goes in the books, we should be looking for Charlie to follow in the games. And in the story, the Mimic 1 AI that was trained using David winds up controlling the Pizzaplex and all its animatronics via an intricate system of wires. This, to me, is the book suggesting that we should probably be looking for Charlie to be doing the same thing in the games. And wouldn't you know it, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest
So
exactly
Charlie
that.
is
Throughout
glitch trap?
Security Breach, there are wires everywhere. Black and white
I
striped
don't think
wires
so,
that look
but
very
okay.
similar to everyone's favorite possessed puppet, Charlie. There are also the staff bots roaming around looking like a twisted version of a puppet.
Those
we
absolutely,
also see several unexplained Nightmare-owned plushies hidden in strange locations throughout the building, again suggesting that an angry version of Charlie may just be at work within the walls of the building. During my complete timeline, I suggested that the reason we were seeing so much puppet imagery throughout the Pizzaplex is because Charlie's possessing the building poltergeist style. Just like the house in that movie is possessed by angry spirits, the Pizzaplex is haunted by Charlie because it's built on top of the location of the FNAF 6 fire. Basically, her physical form may be gone, but her spirit is still going to haunt the building until Afton is destroyed. And again, I think that this latest story confirms that I was close about the what, but not necessarily about the how. Charlie is still very much here, but it's not a haunting, it's technological. And look at this. The wires are even formed in such a way that they look like the trunk and branches of a tree, exactly the way the Mimic's wires are described to run through the Pizzaplex in the book. Just like David's consciousness infected everything.
But the tree is in the center of the Pizzaplex, and the wires are just spread throughout the building. The wires are like the branches. The branches are different. The tree was in the middle, but it was eventually taken out because there's dead bodies inside, you know?
In the Pizzaplex during the Tale story, so too is Charlie infecting everything in the Pizzaplex of the game. But that's not all. Remember that in the book, Edwin uses an elaborate code of symbols,
that would imply
sticks, and
that
shapes to
Charlie
communicate with his son
is
inside the
glitch trap.
Pizzaplex. It's designed as an elaborate code of triangles within triangles. That right there, that is the wall code in Security Breach's secret room. Remember that one?
I
It's
still
not
have
here
doubts that that is the wall code. It's obviously like the same type of code, but I still have doubts that that actually is the wall code because they don't really match what the Mimic, like the Mimic in general. People say that it does, but it more so matches
The
Gregory.
abbreviated translation. Break and mend, I built the breath. They hunt now, drawn to life. The storyteller here is giving us a clue that this wall code, these triangles within triangles, they were written by Henry. How? When?
Henry?
Not sure. Honestly, we hadn't even considered him as a possible person to have written this because he was supposed to be dead in the FNAF 6 fire. But if you look at the text with him in mind, the pieces all fit. Henry did build the breath. He was the creator of the animatronics. And in all stories about Henry, we hear about him repurposing old robotic parts. He is breaking and mending them. But midway through, this coded message starts to switch tones. It starts giving instructions. Quote again, dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run, crush the vile ban. Your life, your aim will save those with soul. He's teaching someone their mission. He's giving some robotic AI their instructions, just like Edwin was trying to communicate with the AI in the book. It is their task to save those with soul. But look specifically at the verbs that are written here, especially shoot and flash. This one has to be talking to
Yeah, it's
Gregory.
definitely Gregory.
Not only is he the one
I guess the first part might be about the Mimic, but like I feel like it more so makes sense to be Gregory the whole way through. It might not be though. It can definitely be about the Mimic. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I'm wondering. There's 5 minutes left in the video. Where the hell is Ruin? Nothing's being mentioned about Ruin.
Crushing the vile band.
Maybe he'll get to that.
All
I
of
don't know.
those actions
Would have
are
expected it to
things
be
that
more
he performs in the game.
now,
He is the only one shooting with the Faz Blaster. He is the only one flashing with the Faz Cam. It seems like Henry, in a last failsafe against Fazbear, may have built a protector using an AI program and spoke to it using his triangle within triangle code. And that protector has to be Gregory. I know, I can't let Robot Gregory go. I get it. But how else do you explain this? No one else is flashing and shooting. And remember,
I
the
agree
story
Gregory's a
GGY
robot,
confirms
but a lot of people just hate the theory. I still think that Gregory being a robot makes the most sense, but him being built by Henry, I feel like it's way more likely that it was built by Michael. Okay, I think it's possible that what he's saying is correct. Not that Edwin isn't in the games. Edwin is definitely in the games, but is he similar to Henry? Absolutely. They are two different characters. But maybe it is trying to make a connection between Henry and the wall code, and maybe he did make it, but like with Michael's help? I don't know. But I feel like Michael is probably like, he probably did it more around now in the timeline. Like, I think that I believe I've made videos on this. I've made a video on this and I've talked about it in a couple videos. I think Michael is still alive after FNAF 6, but Henry is not, definitely. So, I don't know. It could have been before FNAF 6 and maybe they worked together or something. I feel like it would just be a little bit random and I don't know if it would fit. I feel like it just makes more sense that Michael would have written the wall code. Or it could have been just been Edwin and then he was instructed. Oh, okay, here's an idea. Maybe Edwin made that code about the Mimic and trying to get someone to save them, to save everybody from the Mimic, and then the Mimic or sorry, not the mimic. Michael found the code, and then he put it into his own room and followed those instructions, creating Gregory with those instructions from the wall code. That could make sense. That actually could make a lot of sense. I like that idea, actually. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know. It wouldn't change too much of my timeline if that was the case, and it wouldn't change a whole lot of, it wouldn't change a whole lot of MatPat's timeline either. It wouldn't change a lot of my timeline, so it kind of makes sense, honestly. I might adopt that theory. I don't know yet. I gotta think about it some more, and maybe I'll talk about that in a future video or something. But let's continue with the video and see what else he has to say.
To us that Gregory is patient 46, whose secret
I'm gonna rewind a little bit
is
because I don't remember what he was
triangle
saying.
within triangle code, and that protector has to be Gregory. I know, I can't let robot Gregory go. I get it, but how else do you explain this? No one else is flashing and shooting. And remember, the story GGY confirms to us that Gregory is patient 46, whose secret therapy tapes are played right next to where this code is in the very same room.
Yeah,
Everything
exactly,
in this one room is
exactly. I mentioned
that
that,
the
I think, in my
message is for
timeline
Gregory,
as well.
written in a code that the books tell us is reserved for robot brains. But this then raises two major questions. First, how could I say that Gregory's a robot when we see him in GGY as just a kid at school? And secondly, GGY makes it clear that Gregory is
Charlie would like to have a word with the people who use that as evidence.
a villain. Hacking into GGY as just a kid at school. And secondly, GGY makes it clear that Gregory is a villain, hacking into the animatronics and using them to kill people.
Apparently, all three of your former therapists have gone missing.
So's Vanessa though, but she's good inside. It's just glitch trap. So.
Body was pretty messed up. It looked like it was mangled by machinery.
Gregory's pen name for a large portion of the book is Dr. Rabbit, for crying out loud. If that doesn't scream, oh, by the way, I'm also working for Afton, I don't know what does. He even calls himself the wizard's most favorite apprentice. So how can I say that he's working for Henry when it's very clearly being told to us that he's also working for William?
I think it's clear that he was built with the intention of destroying Glitch Trap, and then Glitch Trap took him over. And then if he is a robot, then it would add up the age thing, because it doesn't seem like Gregory would be like 15 as he should be in Security Breach. It seems probably like he would be probably like 10 to 12. And 12 is how old he is in GGY, and 12 is the age right before the robots would switch over to the next one in the books for Charlie, right? Because there's the kid one and the teen one, so when would you switch between that? 13, obviously, right? So that would make a lot of sense for that Gregory to have just been left behind, the glitch trap virus transfer into the next one, as the young Gregory is just thrown away and discarded. That's my theory on it, and I think that's what makes the most sense. I don't know, because Gregory being a robot is such a huge, controversial point in the community, and I think a lot of people just hate it. No, I don't think a lot of people hate it. A lot of people absolutely hate it, but I honestly don't mind the idea. I think it's probably true, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. But let's continue. I'm talking a lot, but I mean, it's a reaction. I'm trying to give my thoughts on what he's saying. It's a theory. I gotta give my thoughts. So let's continue now.
Well, first off, we never actually see confirmation that he's a human in the books. In fact, we
don't,
largely
yeah.
get the opposite. Gregory is actually described in the book as, quote, an unfamiliar kid who looked a little lost at the start of the school year. So there's no past with this kid, no growing old
Pretty
together
much,
with a
yeah.
group of friends. He just
There's also
appeared
no
out of
past in the
nowhere one
games.
day. What's more, whenever his friends do something odd, Gregory reacts in a very robotic way. He cocks his head and he has a weird pause in his behavior.
Kind of like
Is that a lot to
Kelsey
go off of?
in
No,
the new
but
kid.
also
Yeah,
nothing about
obviously
him
it's not.
explicitly says that he's necessarily human, or that he's just the reluctant follower of Afton. But obviously the bigger question here is how? How can he be both a protector bot and an agent of Afton at the same time? This is also a question that's raised in the books. If GGY is saying that Gregory and Glitch Trap are in control of the animatronics, but then the storyteller is saying that an AI version of Charlie is controlling the animatronics, who's
That's not
actually
what
in
it's
control?
saying.
Both of these stories feel crucial to understanding Security Breach's lore, and yet they
I feel like MatPat's kind of missing the whole point of the Mimic. The Mimic is meant to be Glitch Trap. The Glitch Trap is not Afton. Afton is not the Mimic. The Mimic is Glitch Trap. I feel like he's kind of missing that whole point. Afton, is he back? I think he probably is still here, but he's not Glitch Trap. So technically Gregory isn't working for Afton.
they seem to contradict each other. So what is going on?
They don't, no.
Well, for that answer, we actually have to go to the trailer for the new Security Breach DLC.
How does this connect?
In the last few seconds of footage for this new game, we see a glitching techno rabbit, glitching between two colors, green and purple. This effect is known as chromatic aberration, which is when the lens of a camera is unable to focus the different colors of light into the exact same point. Usually you see this sort of thing with red and blue, sometimes red and green. Purple and green is not usually the natural color combination for this sort of effect, which means that it's trying to tell us something. And this isn't the only time we see it. If you go over to securitybreachtv.com, which has been the go-to location for all online teasers for these games, the website has the steel wool logo down in the corner, glitched again between purple and green. Not only that, they're reverses of each other. Not just reflections, but actually facing in opposite directions. Well, we know that purple is always going to be the villain color. It's evil. That is a given for this franchise. But green, that then, is probably the opposite color, the hero color. And while it could represent Elizabeth with her signature green eyes,
Elizabeth's villain.
More likely is that the green is Charlie, the color of the security puppet's eyes, the color of the wristband that she was wearing the night that she died, all green. So within Gregory, and honestly within all of these animatronics, there's a capacity for both good and evil. Glitchtrap is in the code, obviously, he's purple, but there's also a force for good, Charlie, in there as well as green. And what we're playing through is a battle between these two to ultimately decide who wins. That's why the tiger head and the...
I don't think so. I think the thing about that is that green is the color of Glitchtrap. Like, obviously Glitchtrap is related to purple because he's, like, replicating Afton, but he's green in FNAF VR whenever he's to the right of you. Like, whenever he's to the right of you in FNAF VR, he is not fully formed, and he's green. He's represented by green. And he's a glitch. That's how Glitchtrap works. He's a glitch. He's green, he's purple, he's both. So the green doesn't have to have anything to do with Charlotte. It can simply just be Glitchtrap. It's Glitchtrap. It's both forms of Glitchtrap, both colors of Glitchtrap, sorry. And there's the purple, which also represents Afton, and then there's the green, which is the color of Glitchtrap, which is replicating him, which is what the Mimic is doing to Afton. He's replicating him. So that's what I think is most likely meant by those colors.
Tales from the Pizzaplex story has two differently colored eyes. It shows two forces at work within the same program. This also explains why throughout the game the other animatronics are getting corrupted, but why Glamrock Freddy isn't. He's booted in safe mode. The storyteller establishes that all the animatronics are
safe mode just doesn't have the Glitchtrap virus.
The Pizzaplex. By glitching out and then rebooting in safe mode, Glamrock Freddy is separated from that system as well as any sort of corruption that's happening within it. And just like that, it all became crystal clear. The reason we have two stories telling us about two different sources of control over the animatronics in the Pizzaplex isn't because Scott changed his mind or because Steel Wool didn't get the memo. It's because Ruin is literally going to be a battle for control. The forces of evil, Glitchtrap, versus the forces for good, Charlie. One who wants to kill kids and use their souls to gain eternal life, and another who wants to put it all to rest and protect those who can still be saved. And Gregory is stuck there in the middle, both of them existing inside of him. Like he says himself at the end of the trailer,
"Don't give up on me yet."
But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you want to see more of my live theory crafting and reactions to the Ruin trailer, there's a whole GT live video waiting for you over on the left. Might even get a sneak peek into some of the ideas that I'm using for an upcoming theory. Or if you're looking for another indie horror franchise with some quality lore, you can always click our video on the right to check out our theory on Amanda the Adventurer. As always, my friends, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.
Okay, so this theory was questionable in some areas, cool in other areas, and idea sparking in other areas. You know what I mean? So, I don't know how to feel about this. I feel like he completely missed the whole thing that the storyteller and the Mimic were trying to tell us, that Glitchtrap isn't Afton. I feel like that's what the entire thing is trying to tell us, but he completely, like, missed that. And I don't really know how he missed that. But I like the connections between Henry and Edwin are absolutely there, but I don't think that they're actually supposed to indicate things that Henry does. I think the idea that maybe Edwin made the wall code and then Michael used that as inspiration for Gregory makes the most sense. Or at least makes a lot of sense. I don't know what yet if I will believe that. I probably have to make a theory video on it to, like, figure out, like, the logistics behind all that. But the two forces at work thing, no. Absolutely not. Like, the idea, fine. I think Charlie is probably still around, and she's probably infecting parts of the Pizzaplex, but I don't think that she's at all part of the Glitch Trap virus or the Mimic, because the Mimic is evil through and through. The Mimic is not, the Mimic being, David, I mean, it's kind of David, but it's a mixture of the replication of David and the replication of Afton. It's a mixture of the two. That's why they're acting kind of like children, but they're also acting more aggressive, because they're William, or they're replicating William. It is being controlled by something replicating William. That's the whole thing behind it, I think, and I think that the theory was like, okay, I get what he's trying to say, but I think he kind of talked about Tails games at the beginning of the video, and then kind of just talked in the theory, pretending, like, acting like he never mentioned it at all. Like, he forgot that he even mentioned it, if it seems like, almost. But I think that's all that there is to talk about for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to. And I will see you all in the next video. I really badly need to cough. Bye, guys!